The Golan Heights is a region in southwest Syria that was annexed by Israel after the 1967 war, and its Syrian citizens have experienced many sufferings as a result of the Israeli occupation, such as being forcibly displaced from their homes, being separated from their families, living in dangerous conditions such as near active landmines, and most currently having wind turbines being built on their lands. And Al Marsad, who is our partner in this project, is a nonprofit human rights organization based in the Golan Heights that is currently fighting for Syrian voices in the Golan.
So, one of the most important things that we have learned in our class was design thinking. So, design thinking is an iterative process where we seek to understand the target audience and define problems to find solutions that may not be instantly apparent with our initial level of understanding. So, we applied the design thinking process on a project that we worked on with Al Morsad. The client had great content, but they were not able to market in an effective manner that put them in a place where the voices of the people in Golan were not being heard. So, using the design thinking process, we tackled problems that were not fully defined and reframed it in a human centric way. Design thinking process proposed by the Stanford D School has 5 different phases: emphasize, define, ideate, prototype, and test. And each phase created new challenges, and we worked on it collectively step by step. During the emphasize phase, we used the mirror boards to brainstorm in an attempt to understand the people of the Golan. In the define phase, we organized the user's needs, problems, and insights, and we proposed a problem statement. Then we moved on to the ideate phase, generating new solutions, and we decided to help our client better market themselves by creating a documentary. The prototype phase is when we started solidifying our solutions by making a storyboard and creating dialogues that will be included in the documentary. Last, we proposed the final storyboard in our test phase to our clients. The storyboard will be further elaborated next semester by the team that takes over this project, and they will be making it into a real documentary. So we believe that design thinking is not very exclusive to just designers. It means that all great innovators in literature, art, music, business, they've all practiced it. And we believe that it is an important skill that will help you create effective solutions that help you speak the mind of a user.
Hey Leo, what'd you learn from human-centered design and engaged media?
Oh, hey there. You know, in Info 4940, I learned about transmedia design. There's a lot of information in this world nowadays, especially with the internet. So we have to find ways to make this knowledge, these experiences, accessible to all people. Right? I mean, you can take a story, and then you can create a video, that people all over the world can watch. You can take an academic journal, with like new groundbreaking discoveries, and then you can turn it into a comic. In our class, we were working with people in the Golan. We were trying to figure out how do we transmediate, how do we transform their experiences, these stories into new forms. Like, we made a comic. We tried to like boil down their stories into like some, essence, that we could show to people, this quick glimpse. But then we also considered, even larger ideas, taking these stories and then creating a film, like a film that could even, have its own, different kinds of media inside it, like graphs and maps, even like little, like personal interviews. Yeah, that's transmedia design right there.
Awesome, thank you.
Yeah, so one thing I learned in this class is having very clear expectations early on, both for the partners as well as your own group. Another thing that I think was very important in terms of us working all together during this time is having a very clear thread of communication as well, in terms of having a Slack or a Facebook Messenger group where you can always have communication with each other. Another aspect that I think is very important is actually when you are splitting up the things that you're going to be doing for your project, is splitting it up based on the skill set that each person has, which will actually make the process be a lot smoother in terms of the final deliverable.
Hi, I'm Adrien. So what I learned from this course is how to make comics. During this semester, my team was asked to draw multiple comics, and I've been fairly involved in this process. So this is obviously not the first time I was ever asked to draw something. So I had experience creating illustrations for websites and print materials in the past. However, comics is still an entirely new format for me. It's been extremely challenging for us because comics obviously have more than one frame, so we really had to create as many frames as possible within the limited amount of time. But at the same time, we also need to make sure that all the frames are coherent together and they can tell you a story together. So I personally did a lot of the backgrounds of the comics. What I learned is that colors are a really good tool to convey emotions. So in some of the scenes where we want like a very happy, very light vibe, I generally use a lot of bright and saturated colors. And in other scenes where we want to create like a very sad mood, I just chose a lot of dark and dull colors. And I even left some of the backgrounds entirely in grayscale so that the protagonists can stand out more. So I have been constantly struggling in some sort of tension during this whole process, just because I had to make the decision whether I want to put more details in something, or if I should just leave the time for something more, some more important components. Yeah, so I guess all the creative work involves some sort of stress. Yeah, this is pretty much what I learned from this course.